Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Week 5 of Division 2 here in the Midwest F1 League. I'm Hotspot, and tonight we are at the Sochi Autodrome here in Russia. 18 corners make up this 5.8-kilometer circuit, with 12 to the right and 6 to the left. 2 DRS zones here, making for the potential for lots of overtaking, with the driver's main concern keeping penalty-free through Turn 2, specifically, of course. There's a lot of places for that. And the 3 big action zones, to start off, the very long straights, going from essentially out of 18 and then through Turn 1. I know it's not really a straight, but all the way down into Turn 2, where we surely to see some carnage there, which is, usually the place where it happens, especially on the first lap. Secondly, being the DRS zone down into Turn 13, which is very tight and somewhat disorienting right-hander. If you don't hit your braking zones there are sure to be some carnage. And then finally, the left-hander of Turn 15, where it's not uncommon to see drivers spin over the raised curbing, which I'm sure a lot of people are definitely guilty of doing. Definitely not unheard of. In fact, I think we've seen that a couple times last season. But yeah, so that is your preview for Russia. Some big news out of Ferrari this week, as I believe Tiak has been moved up to Div 1. Rightfully so, by the way, so big congratulations to him. And then, unfortunately, Monkey Mafia is out this week, which, with what I believe is technical difficulties. And so he's going to be replaced by Chief Braids, though also big shout out to the Monkey Mafia, who's agreed to stream this race and provide me with, secondary camera angles for when, if I need them for a replay. So big shout out to Monkey Mafia there for that. JST is set to take over the racing point of Soy Loco tonight as he fills in for Division 1. Good luck to Soy Loco there. And then finally, TNE Highway will be stepping in for Noganator tonight in the Red Bull. As we see a couple cars coming out already. I believe the first one is going to be Niru Nix, unless someone decides to jump ahead of him. And no, Niru Nix is going to be the first one out on track, which apparently is a common sight for the Renaults to be first out of the garage. Especially, I know that's a thing in real life. I'm not sure if that's specifically in Midwest as well, though I know that is common practice for the Renault slash what is now Alpine team. I know that's kind of a thing they pride themselves for, but I guess it doesn't really make much of a difference other than having open track ahead of you. Big race this is shaping up to be for sure, as he's actually going to let Haytite go by. This is definitely going to be probably, in my opinion, it might not be the best action-packed race of the year like we had last week at Silverstone. However, this is going to be a big one, as I guess the trend so far this season has been we've got 3 drivers at the top of the championship table who are battling it out for wins every week. Now that Tiak has moved up, now that also Matt Rosie has moved up, it's just down to Uncle Ben's Rice and Will N. So I guess who will be that third driver to potentially step into that role and put on a show? There's definitely some favorites out there on the grid for who it could be. Although this is definitely going to be the race where we see it happen. Honestly, I'll have to ask Will Ans at the end of the race, assuming he gets on podium, by the way. Assuming if he gets on podium and I do interview, I do want to ask him if he plans on moving up to Div 1. I think he said he won't, although I'm not entirely sure. As Haytite rounds at turn 18, now we begin the unofficial track guide to the circuit. So you got this little straight down after the start-finish line, which is positioned really early on exit of turn 18. So that's turn 1, pretty straightforward there, which isn't a pun at all because it's not. Down into turn 2. Now this is a very tricky corner because you can not only invalidate on the outside of the corner on exit, but also on the inside if you take up too much of the curbing. Then the very fast left-hander of turn 3, which sometimes you can almost take fully flat out. It can be done. I think especially with the F1 cars it can be done. No, F2 is a little bit difficult, but no, it's possible. Now through turn 5, be careful on exit turn 5, not only for track limits, but also that wall that is at a very strange angle. And through 6 and 7, 7 can be taken pretty fast, assuming you take up a lot of the curbing. 8 and 9, not exactly a big place for track limits, although it's definitely got the potential to cause some trouble. And then finally out of turn 10 into the DRS section here. Very important that you get yourself a good line and finish up any battles before going into turn 12 and 13, which you'll see right here, as these corners can be very tricky and disorienting. Not only can you completely get your line wrong going into the corner, but then exiting turn 12, also a problem. Then here's turn 15, and wow, Capitano has completely blocked off Haytite from the corner. Wow, that was interesting there. As Haytite goes and rounds both turns 17 and 18, pretty straightforward, and then that is your track out of the circuit. But what has happened there? Did Capitano just not notice that Haytite was behind him? Because that has completely trashed a perfectly good lap for Haytite. And yeah, he's 7/10 behind Forza Juve, who's just taken provisional pole. That was very, very chaotic there as going through 15 and 16. As I was going to say about turn 15, not uncommon, as we said before, to see drivers go over the curbing and then spin the car. That is definitely, I don't want to say a prominent thing, but I'm sure at least 80% of us are guilty of doing it. So Ben's Race has taken provisional pole at the moment. Got about 8/10 back on Forza Juve. I think next to the line is going to be the Red Bull. I believe that's Ray. No, it's actually going to be his teammate for the week, T&E Highway, so we'll have to see what kind of lap he puts up. Hightower comes in at 5th, about 3 and some change behind the leader. Through turn 18 comes T&E Highway. Where will he come out? And he'll jump up to 5th, so not a terrible lap there, but definitely capable of better. And next to the line, I believe, is going to be Will Ans, and Will Ans will shoot up to 3rd, still a second behind. Currently first place, now gets dropped down to 4th as Chief Braids crosses the line. About a tenth difference there between Will Ans and Chief Braids. And then about another 10th, almost exactly on the dot, to Forza Juve. And then about 8/10 to Ben's Rice. So I tell you what, places 2, 3, 4, and 5, and 6 for that matter, very closely contested. In fact, I believe that's less than a second from 2nd to back there in 7th. So I tell you what, pretty closely contested here. As I said before, lots of drivers trying to make their mark on the division and get into that spot where, you know, they're able to have some confidence, I suppose, and maybe become that third part of the big three that we've had. Look at Adaltonian. He was in the McLaren last week for some reason. Not rightly sure why, but he was. Shout out to Adaltonian also for providing the stream. So Monkey Mafia has alerted me that we are going to have a wet start to the race according to the weather forecast. And it looks like it's going to stay that way until the end of the race. About 45 minutes is going to be the cutoff. According to that, which I must say it does look like a very gray sky. And speaking of Adaltonian, I've been told to shout out the podcast that Adaltonian hosts named The Slipstream, where you could find that on Spotify and pretty much anywhere else that podcasts are put out. As Adaltonian, actually, as far as that goes, I mean, it's a very fun podcast to be a part of. I've joined in on a couple episodes this season, hopefully more in the near future, as that is definitely a highlight of my week when I do get to participate in that. But I tell you what, Adaltonian and his buddy puts together a very, very professional podcast, one that surely could use a little bit of help in getting off the ground here, as they are putting together a very, very solid podcast to listen to. It's very, very good time. I wish I had a script that I put behind that. I'm sorry, I'm just rambling off. Definitely go check out the Slipstream podcast, though, on Spotify and anywhere else that podcasts are available, as it is a very, very entertaining podcast. Man, I really hope I never have to read advertisements, because that honestly was just the biggest mess of me trying to sputter out words that sound like a plug. Absolutely ridiculous. Who's next in the Renault? We got Niru Nix, who's on his first timed lap, although apparently it says he's got low fuel. Interesting. I don't know how you've managed to do that at the beginning of the session. Cheeky little overtake from Will Ants going into the pits, I must say. Next to the line, looks like it's going to be the AlphaTauri of Capitano, although he has invalidated his lap time. Domingo's behind him on his outlap, and then behind them, the Ferrari of Adaltonian, which I believe is gunning for a timed lap here. I could be wrong. No, I'm gonna say no on that front as well, as it appears that he's way off the... Oh, what's this? Capitano's gone around on what appears to be exit of turn 16. I'm not sure how you've managed to pull that one off. However, interesting to say the least. Looks like next to the line is going to be Humble Hippo, coming into 17 and 18 now. Humble Hippo, and for the Alfa Romeo team in general, I've been putting together some pretty decent results recently, and Humble Hippo is going to go up to 5th, an absolutely brilliant lap from him, though still capable of better, I'm sure. And so speaking of specific teams and whatnot, let's go ahead and go over our constructor standings. After last week's race at Silverstone, it is very, very closely contested at the top, with 2 points separating the Williams and Ferrari team, 189 to 187. So definitely all to play for here, as we're, I don't want to say we're nearing the halfway point of our season, although it definitely feels like that. Looks like next to the line is going to be J.C., who on time lap. And no, looks like he's actually going to be coming into the pits. So behind him, I'll get back to the thing in a second. Let me just scroll back through the order. So Domingo's coming through turns 13 and 14 now. As I was saying, back there in third, gaining a spot since the last race, AlphaTauri at 167. So only 22 points behind, and Will Ans and Capitano are sure to put on a solid performance. Definitely looking to put together a good one. Definitely have the potential to. We'll have to see if AlphaTauri can make a strike here in the constructor standings, as it looks like Domingo's actually severely improved his time. Very nicely done. P5 for him. In fourth, the Renault F1 team at 156, so solid 33 points back. Not terrible. Not where they want to be by any means. However, I will say that is a pretty solid spot to be, as they are still within striking distance of even first place, really. Maybe not within this race in particular, but very short, very potential, possibly. In fifth, a little bit further back, the Racing Point team actually making the move into fifth over this past week. It's sitting at 127, solid 62 points back, making the leapfrog over Alfa Romeo, who sit at 104, 85 points back. So a lot of work to do from the Alfa Romeo team, although I tell you what, the combination of Murph and Selly and Humble Hippo, two very talented drivers who have yet to really make their mark on the division, though they have the potential for it. They definitely haven't done that yet, although I will say, definitely keep your eye out on that Alfa Romeo team, as they are very, very talented drivers and sure to make an impact here very shortly. And then Mercedes back there in 7th at 95 points, Haas in 8th, Red Bull in 9th, and then McLaren, who unfortunately this week only have the one driver of Domingo's. It just seems to have been such a off year for McLaren. I do not understand how they've come across this poor luck consistently in this division. As far as I can tell, I think they're doing fine in every other division. I don't know what the curse is with McLaren and Division 2, although it definitely seems like there is one this season at least. It's Haytite in the Ferrari goes in 3rd. So currently our points leader in Will Ans, back there in 5th. A little bit off the pace, although he is coming out on his outlap now. Sorry about there, folks. Just trying to respond to Will in the Discord about something. So if we look at the schedule, this is round 5 of... So this is round 5 of 12. So we are just about at the halfway point of the season. Still everything to play for here, I will add. Definitely a great season it's been so far, and... well, it's not over yet, folks, as we... So as we see Chief Braids here on his timed lap as he makes his way into Sector 2 through turns 6 and 7 now. May have actually taken turn 7 a little bit slower, maybe didn't cut off as much of the curving as he probably wanted to. You can take that a lot faster than he did. We'll have to see if he can improve upon his 8th place worthy lap. I want to touch on the Williams driver of Saffron City at the moment. Definitely one of... now, Saffron City's a very talented driver. As we saw last season in Division 2, definitely put on a show. Oh, who's this that's going around? Capitano has gone off. Who were we just with that was seeing it? And wow, he has completely smacked to the right-hand barrier there. Very unfortunate for Capitano, as he hasn't even had a proper chance to make a solid lap. All the way back there in 17th. That is not what the Alpha Tauri team needed by any means. Absolutely unfortunate there for the Alpha Tauri team. But as I was saying, back to this of Saffron City, very, very talented driver, although his points right now don't really show that. Currently sitting 8th in the point standings at only 60 points. I mean, this was the challenge with the Williams team last season, was where can they keep themselves consistent enough to make a solid impact on the league. And I tell you what, his teammate last season of Sadistic Kane definitely did that. Saffron, very, very talented driver, but still kind of struggles to find that consistency, which is honestly to me a little upsetting, because I mean, he definitely is one of those drivers that can perform week in and week out, and I don't know if it's just bad luck this season or what it could be. I mean, I have no idea what's going on with Saffron City, although I will say his recent performances do not speak to the quality of a driver that this man is, and definitely still more to come from him. As we enter in the last minute and a half of the session, next to the line comes J.St. in the Racing Point. These guys are definitely going to need better laps, currently 14th and 15th respectively. Not where they want to be whatsoever. Coming through now is Domingos, currently sitting 7th. Not a terrible starting position, although certainly you want to be a lot further up at this track, especially going into Turn 2, which a very, very tricky corner indeed, and hopefully that is somewhat decently tame, although we do have the impending rain race at the beginning, so that's going to be a little tough, for sure. So Haytite Gaming currently sitting in 4th, starting his probably final timed lap now. Will Ann's coming through Sector 3 at the moment on the inside of turns, what is it, 13 and 14. Will definitely has potential to have a better lap here. He's just letting some traffic go by. He's got 29 seconds to get to the line and start another timed lap. Meanwhile, Haytite seems to be on a pretty solid lap. It looks like Niru Nix has retired from the session. Did not end up making a timed lap. And who's this that's gone off there? That is the BWT Racing Point of J.St., who has found himself in the barriers. I don't know if he's just letting traffic by. No, he must have just been letting traffic by, because he hasn't lost any front wing, although it certainly seemed like he would have. So Will Ans is coming to the pits. He's going to settle for 3rd, is what it looks like. Currently now, Haytite is going to be coming to the line shortly. Benz Rice on an outlap did not get a chance to actually make a timed lap. So unfortunate for him, so he'll just have to sit and wait at the moment. Haytite is next to the line. He's only 0.8 of a second back, which at Russia, I don't want to say is easily overcomable. However, definitely has the potential to do so. As he comes through turns 17 and 18 now, it's going to be a close one here. I feel like he's on a pretty solid lap. 30, 31, and Haytite is going to go second. Still about 0.5 of a second off pole. However, an absolutely brilliant lap from him, I must say. That is absolutely well done. Humble Hippo in the Alfa Romeo out there on the... Looks like he's got low fuel, honestly. Looks like next to the line, still on a flying lap, is Hightower in the Mercedes. His teammate of Forza Juve currently sits 3rd. Very, very solid job from him so far. as Forza Juve definitely looking to make an impact here. He's definitely got the quality to do just that. However, next to the line it's going to be Hightower. He is choosing to stay out in this lap through 17 and 18. Oh, it might be a bit close, 30, 31, and he's going to go just up to 10th. So not the lap that Hightower necessarily wanted, although 10th place is not a bad place to be at all on the grid, I must say. And apparently the engine of Humble Hippo sounds like absolute death. Next to the line looks to be Spool and Dub. No, that was actually Pork Chops who came to the line. And he'll take 12th, not the start that he wanted. However, Spool and Dub to the line now, still on his flying lap, choosing not to pit. Looks to be having a pretty solid lap. Out of 17, into 18. Oh, it's going to be close. He's not going to get pole. And yeah, he's going to have to settle for 12th. With his teammate Pork Chops right behind him. Definitely not the result that he wanted, although it would appear that Humble Hippo is also coming in. So Uncle Ben's Rice taking pole for the event, followed by Haytite Gaming in the Ferrari. Who I believe that's actually the full-time replacement for Teok. So the replacement for Teok has came in and got himself on the front row. Absolutely brilliant result from him. Forza Juve put in a good effort as well. Will Ann's back there in 4th, not where he wants to be, although row 2 is a respectable place to be on this grid. And with the session coming to a close, I don't want to say there's not any big surprises. Maybe just Forza Juve in there. Haytite, I think definitely a big driver to look out for in this race. Seems to have a lot of pace right now. But Ben's Rice on pole, Haytite in 2nd, Forza Juve 3rd, Will Ann's in 4th, Chief Braids in 5th, Humble Hippo 6th, 7th is Murph and Selly, 8th is Domingos, 9th is Saffron, 10th Hightower, 11th Adaltonian, 12th is Spool and Dub, 13th Pork Chops, 14th is Detail, 15th JST, 16th T&E Highway, 17th Capitano, 18th Ray 46, and then rounding out the field in 19th is Niru Nix in the Renault. Definitely want to be looking out for both Haytite and Forza Juve up here. Also Chief Braids as well. He's not that far off either. But Will Ann's is definitely going to have a lot of work to do on this start if he wants to get this podium and keep up his run of consistency. So I will say, despite there being rain on the circuit, it doesn't look like a heavy rain situation. It definitely looks like inter-tire quality weather. It's not full wets by any means. And it's also going to get drier towards the end of the session. Apparently, I think over in Div 1, where heavy rain is being reported by that of Cake Thomas in the planning Discord. And that's exactly heavy rain to start the race. So apparently it rains in Russia. I mean, who would have thought? Yeah, so it should be a very interesting start here. Hopefully, Turn 1 does not provide too much of a commotion, as it normally does in the dry, never mind the rain. Though hopefully the fact that everybody being extra careful will come to that aid, I suppose. So who's going to hit the X button first? And the answer was El Capitano, hitting it a little early. I'll have to get out my watch for that. This definitely seems a little early. So I wonder what the strategies are going to be like going, transitioning from the wet to the dry. It's going to be definitely something to look for in this race. Something that's, I don't want to say I didn't really anticipate, to be honest with you. And so everybody has fit the intermediate tires, which I'm not saying I predicted, although it's definitely too light for the full wets. So no surprise there whatsoever. seconds. Let's just watch some of these guys break into turn 1. I mean, it doesn't look ridiculous, but I mean, it definitely could be a little tricky as we see Saffron and Hightower going across the curbing on the formation lap. Wow. Okay. So, anyways, Uncle Ben's Rice on pole position. I wonder who's going to get the best starts. I mean, had this been a dry track, I feel like Ben's Rice could potentially stay up there in first and get away with it. However, that we're in the wet condition, I wonder who's going to get the best start. This is a complete and total toss-up. I have no idea who's going to get the advantage off the start. You have to believe that Will Ans is going to make a big impression into this. You'd have to believe as well that Haytite and Forza are definitely, I don't want to say sitting ducks here, but I've yet to see, obviously, their capabilities in the wet weather. However, you have to believe that Will Ans is going to make a big impact on the start. But I wouldn't count out Haytite or Forza Juve for that matter. Ben's Rice has a lot of talent in his immediate vicinity. Was that Haytite that's just sprawled across the track through turn 15? Surely I wasn't the only one that saw that. It definitely looked like he maybe got a little loose coming out of the corner, trying to warm the tire. Well, that'll be interesting, as the grid forming up here. So who's going to have the best camera angle for the start? Looks like it's not going to be Haytite, that's for sure. So the predicted strategy says make the one stop and put on another set of inters. However, it is going to get dry towards the end of the session. So it could be anything, really. I'm very excited to see how this is going to play out, ladies and gentlemen. We are potentially in for another Race of the Year candidate here at the Sochi Ultradome, and I am ready. I hope you are too, because we are very, very close to lights out, and the lights are coming on. Who is going to get the best start? 5 lights. Potentially. Now, what is going on? And it's lights out and away we go. That was so disorienting. Ben's Rice gets an absolutely brilliant start off the line. Haytite, not so much. Will Ans goes to the side, puts Haytite in the wall, and Haytite already going down the order. I'm choking on the green tea I had in my mouth to begin with. Will Ans trying the move. It's 3 wide going to the first corner. Ben's Rice gets pretty wide on exit of turn 3. However, he's kept the position for now. Will Ans there in second. Forza Juve moves up to third. Saffron goes into fourth. He's got Humble Hippo to his left side. A little bit further back, Chief Braids looks to have been shuffled out just a little bit. He's under pressure from both Murphin Silly and Adol Tony, and Humble Hippo ahead of him. Murphin Silly to his side. This is an interesting battle. Very, very clean, I will say, unless you're Haytite, who surely is definitely going to be upset about that one. Oh, and we got a car towards the back. Who's that? That's the Mercedes of Hightower, who appears to have smacked the wall on exit of turn number 5 and has lost a decent chunk of his front wing, and by decent I mean the entirety of it. But at the moment, Uncle Ben's Rice has the big advantage of a 1.2 second gap back to Will Ans. Will Ans, however, under pressure from Forza Juve as they go down the DRS straight. This is going to be interesting here because it looks like Forza Juve is keeping up with them very, very nicely. Humble Hippo under pressure from his Alfa Romeo teammate of Murphin Selly as they go through 13 and 14. It doesn't look like, I don't expect a big battle here between these two drivers, although if the opportunity opens up, I'm sure we will potentially get an overtake from Murphin Selly, as he definitely looks to be keeping up, and we have a yellow flag apparently in Sector 3. Who could that be? And Domingos has been shuffled down the order, picks up 3 seconds as well. As Uncle Ben's Rice sets the fastest lap, many drivers coming into the pits, at least 3 that I can see at this moment in time, probably more. So 3 looks like the answer for now. Benz Rice has the lead. Will Ans currently, can he be overtaken by Forza Juve going into 2? It's close. I think contact was made. Will Ans going across the corner, nearly pulling at Carlos Sainz. That almost was absolutely disaster for Will Ans, although he does have the position. Forza Juve tried his best to keep off of him going into 2, although it didn't come out that way, and a safety car has come out. And that is Murphy who's gone off. And wow, he is in a terrible spot of the circuit, who's just completely gone off there on entrance to turn 4, and that is not what he needed. And his Alfa Romeo teammate of Humble Hippo is in on it as well. There couldn't have been a battle for that position and have them gotten into each other. Surely not. Absolute scenes. And the safety car out on circuits. Wow. Unbelievable start to this event, ladies and gentlemen, as Benz Rice has the lead.
Oh no, my teammate.
Drifting. Oh, drifting. Oh, 2 alphas.
My teammate just took me out.
Oh.
And hopefully I've provided myself with enough time for the perspective of what's happened there on exit of turn 3. I struggled. I wonder how that's exactly happened as well. I mean, I have no idea. I hope the replay showed us that, because right now I'm just absolutely dumbfounded as to how that's happened. I will say a very entertaining first lap of this race, first and second lap for that matter. Will Ans moving up to second with the position change. Definitely the biggest mover, Saffron City up there. Adaltonian up there. He's up to 5th now. Good move from him. Chief Braids, unfortunate what's happened to him. He's lost his position. Pork Chops up 6. T&E Highway up 8, as well as Capitano and Ray 46. All very big moves out of then. I guess the biggest mover in the wrong direction, however, has to be Haytite in that Ferrari machine. I'm going to throw in the replay of the start now just to see what's happened there between him and Will Ans on the initial start. And so Forza Juve, I mean, he's in a good spot now, but I mean, the strategy, I wonder how the strategy is going to play out into this race, because honestly, at some point it is going to get dry. I don't know, honestly. I don't want to make any predictions now, because honestly, there is absolutely no telling as to how this race is going to turn out. Oh, a little bit of a backup going into turn 13 potentially. So still big grouping of cars coming around turn 10 at the moment, so we're probably going to get safety car for at least another lap. As Humble Hippo, Niru, and Haytite, as well as Domingos and Hightower. I just really wonder what's happened to Murphy between him and Humble Hippo. There's no way that just naturally happens to Murphy. I don't know. I don't know if they were battling for position or maybe one just got loose and hit the other. I have no clue. I have no idea genuinely how that's happened. I'm gonna find a quote in the Division 2 chat. Adaltonian telling Forza Juve that he's lagging bad. And according to the Division 3 chat, something is happening there. I don't know. Can we get a footage of the start? I mean, can I potentially have a cross-division replay thrown in right now of the Division 3 race? Can I channel my inner fallen monkeys, I guess, and go put in the and then put inner self, I guess, and throw in the replay of the Division 3 start, because apparently something has happened there.
No, what happened here to Money Matt? That's Money Matt out of the Grand Prix, and I've never seen that. That was Merfola upside down on the race.
I wonder how Div 1's handling it, man. They have full wet, from what I can tell. So Benz Rice currently sitting in second. I don't know. I think Benz Rice might be just having better straight line speed than Will Ants potentially. It definitely just looks like he is. I don't know how Benz Rice got out to that large of a lead on the start. It was about a second and a half on the start of the race. I mean, potentially just from the first corner. Like I don't know. But we're going to go along with Saffron City here on this start, as, yeah, and it does appear that Forza Juve's internet not helping him at all, as Murphincelli's left the session, and apparently drama is kicking off in Division 3. I don't know what's happening there. However, we are back to the start, and it looks like Will Ants right behind Benz Rice as much as he possibly can on the start. And Benz Rice, Will Ants, I mean, definitely using all of the slipstream he possibly can. And who's that that's gone off? That's JC onto the beginning of the safety car, and he's lost half his front wing. How that has happened, I'm not sure, but going into one, Will Ants maybe cut the corner just a little bit. It was hard to tell, but he's got the position for now. Absolutely beautiful overtake there from Will Ants. I'm not entirely sure if he's even gone across the curbing. The camera angle definitely made it look like he did. So it looks like we're all clean for now, though Niru Nick's in a tough spot as he's got Haytite to his right and he's got Humble Hippo in front of him. This is going to be an interesting one here. Hopefully these guys can keep it clean. Yeah, and he gets into the back of Haytite, but not no harm, no foul, but no massive crime to be done there. And so, according to this from Murphincelli, according to this, confirmation coming in that Murphincelli apparently got taken out by Humble Hippo on the start. I'm throwing that quote in. That's unbelievable. Wow. So drama unfolding across every division, across across an entire team. This is unbelievable. I can't believe this season, which by the way was shortened to make way for the new game, is providing us with absolute drama week in and week out. Meanwhile, here's Pork Chops. He's got Chief Braids and Adol Tonian in front of him now. It looks like Adol Tonian is under a lot of pressure from Chief Braids. Adol maybe just struggling for pace a little bit. It definitely looks like that's the case. But Pork Chops is right here along for the ride. He's made up 6 on the spot on the start of the race. Got into the grass there on exit of 18. I don't think he's going to be able to make that overtake now because of how that's played out for him as Domingo's entering the pits. Hopefully not retiring, as that would definitely not help the McLaren team whatsoever. Chief Braid's not having a good exit of 2 whatsoever and is now under potentially even more pressure there from Pork Chops. So a little bit further back into the grid we go. We got Spool and Dub on the end of Ray 46 potentially at some points. Humble Hippo, Haytite, and Niru Nix still battling it out for position here. It looks like Haytite is getting really loose, and no, Haytite's gone into the barriers. Wow, and we were lucky enough, I don't want to say lucky enough, but we definitely were along for that to see Haytite really struggling for grip on exit of turn 3 and was really just sliding the car around. Very, very unfortunate for him, and yeah, he is missing a hefty amount of his front wing. Very unfortunate for him, though I will say the battle for the lead still unfolding as the gap is half a second. Meanwhile, a little bit further back, Capitano, can he make the move on Pork Chops going down the DRS straight? It's going to be close now. This is not the corner to overtake into, I will say, though it looks like Capitano has it for now. Pork Chop's still right behind him, but an absolutely brilliant move there from Capitano. Nicely done from him. Up the field we go. Benz Rice still in hot pursuit of Will Ans. It's going to be a close one between these two. They very much look like they're on level pegging. Benz Rice setting the fastest lap. He's got the potential now. Definitely still all to play there, all to play for the lead now. Here's Spool and Dub side by side with Ray 46. Contact being made there going through 2. It doesn't look like Spool and Dub's actually lost the position. He hasn't gained any either, but now he's under pressure from Detail behind him. Oh my, this is lots of drama unfolding here. A little bit further up, we have Pork Chops trying to get back potentially at Capitano, who Capitano, by the way, trying to make move on Chief Braid as they go into 7. Now, Capitano has been making some very good overtakes at the moment. He's made up 10 spots since the initial start, and he's not done yet. As getting confirmation from Murphin Selly through this message as well, quote-unquote, he drifted that long left and I tried to miss him, but he overcorrected and shot right back, back to the right directly into me. Very, very unlucky there, and is that a Murrayism as well, or is it just a commentator curse? For me saying the lap before that happened, I don't expect a very competitive battle between these two, as I was definitely proved wrong on that, as absolute drama for the Alfa Romeo team. But anyways, here's Benz Rice, still trying to make the move on Will Ans. They go through 17 and 18. Still plenty of racing left to do. And I think the pit window is around 11, though adjusting for the safety car is probably going to be around maybe 13. I wonder. I'm not entirely sure how that's going to play out, how Benz Rice still very close to Will Ans. I tell you what, though, Benz Rice is being very, very tame in this battle for the lead. He's still yet to make some ridiculous attempt at an overtake, which you have to applaud for the discipline that he is showing. So we are going to check back with them in a moment. I think maybe he's just potentially waiting for someone to make a mistake and get a time penalty. But here's Capitano to the right-hand side of Chief Braids. Is he going to get the spot? He's going to try the switchback maneuver, and Capitano's then going to move to the right side of the circuit, and he's going to get the spot until he gets into Chief Braids. Going into the corner, they're still side by side. Somehow Chief Braids hasn't hit the wall or picked up the penalty, and Capitano has gotten in there, made the spots. I don't want to say in the cleanest of fashions by any means. However, he's made the move. And Pork Chop's still trying to sit in there. He's taking his time to get to Chief Braids. I will say he could probably have it this time by, as we saw Chief Braids did not get a good exit to turn 10 whatsoever. Battle for the lead still unfolding. It's within 4/10 of a second. As we go through 15, and it looks like Will Ans maybe got a little bit loose there on exit of 15. Didn't go over the curbing, but obviously with the wet weather and a completely flat track, you're definitely going to have some wheel spin moments. And Benz Rice did not get the best corner there. Will Ans is going to make up a lot of time, and apparently Forza Juve now saying he's a lap down. Thank God that's fixed itself, as Capitano now on the back of Adaltonian. I will say, Capitano has been doing his best to make overtakes happen. However, he looks like he has absolute bags of pace right now, I will say. Adaltonian's done well on the start. He's picked up 6 spots since the initial. Capitano going across a little bit of the curbing there. Surely got a warning for that. Trying to find the inside to Adaltonian now, taking all the curving on the left side of 3. Going on the left side, Adaltonian trying to defend as best as he can. It's still side by side as they go through 4. And Capitano, what a move! Gets past Adaltonian in a clean manner as well, and gets up into the 5th spot. 12 spots since the beginning of the race. Absolutely unreal stuff. And unfortunately, Forza Juve up there in 3rd, picking up the time penalty for what I believe could be maybe taking up too much of the curving on the inside of turn 7, as that's the only realistic place I can see that happening at this moment from where he was on the track. So Forza Juve now in a very difficult spot. Saffron is outside that 3-second window still. However, a lot of ground to be made up. And oh, who's that? That is Haytight Gaming in turn 3. He's lost a bit of his front wing, and man, this day went from bad to worse to even worse for Haytight Gaming. And you gotta feel for him as well, because he had such a starting position. Looked to have such a promising race, and then had an incident on the start between him and Will Ans that shuffled him back, and then spun earlier in the race even further. I mean, man, I really hope that doesn't put too much of a damper on that man's confidence, because I tell you what, if he keeps putting in results like he had today, qualifying results at least, he will go places. Ben's Rice still trying to make his move on Will Ans. Will Ans doing a good job of keeping out of track limits there. Within. A little bit further back, we've got Chief Braids on the back of Adaltonian for the 6th spot. Adaltonian at the moment seems to be, I don't want to say a sitting duck, but he definitely doesn't seem to have the straight line pace that some of these other drivers have, such as Capitano, and Chief Braids as well definitely looks to have it as well. I will say, though, Chief Braids, definitely not the start to the race that he wanted. He's lost 2 spots on the initial start, and he's definitely going to have to make it back, although it looks like Adaltonian at the moment doing some good driving, being very careful, cautious as to not pick up a time penalty, and it's serving him well so far. He's kept that 6th spot. He's had a very good start to the race. And surely that is going to at least give a little bit of positivity to the Ferrari garage after the race that he's had today. And speaking of the race that they've had today, Haytight Gaming picking up 3 seconds for multiple warnings. So very unfortunate. And that just... From a neutral perspective, it absolutely hurts to see that happen. And there he goes into the pits. Just, unreal, unlucky stuff. You just have to feel for the lad, honestly. He had such a start, and then it just wasn't in the cards for him. Absolutely unreal amounts of bad luck. But hopefully he bounces back next week. I really hope he does, because I tell you what, that kid has some pace in him as well. And who's that's gone off? That looks like Domingos, who's over there in between turns 9 and 10, and he's done in a little bit of his front wing. Nero Nix picking up 3 seconds. And it looks like the rain is definitely starting to lighten up a bit. Do you think we might be able to see some drivers go on to dry tires very shortly? It doesn't look like the track is overly wet. I will say, maybe the dry tires will be coming sooner than we thought. A little bit further back we go. Pork Chops still trying to find his way on Chief Braids. Chief Braids had a big wiggle there right before I switched the camera angle. Had a very big wiggle going through 3. Maybe just had a snap of oversteer. And now he's sitting duck to Pork Chops. Let's see if Pork can make his move for the 7th spot. Looks like Chief Braids definitely had a better turn 5 than Pork did. Although it looks like Pork is doing a good job of keeping up with him, despite making a little bit of a mistake there. He's keeping up with him as well. Chief Braids getting a little bit wide there, though somehow not doing enough to usher a penalty. Here's Spooland up to this side of Ray 46, potentially. Looks like Ray got a big lock up there. His teammate ahead of him, TNE Highway, didn't get a good corner either. The 2 Red Bulls trying to fend off the Haas of Spooland as they go through the DRS straight of turn 11 and into 12 and 13. And yeah, both Ray and Spoolin getting big lockups there. Although it looks like those positions are secure at the moment. Only got a yellow flag. Jasty is gone. What's happened? And Jasty has gone around on entrance to turn 3. DRS now being enabled. They feel the track is dry enough. Domingos is the first one to fit the dry tires. Can we look and see who's on what tires? So Forza Juve's came in, Will Ans has just come in, Ben's Rice has came in, Forza Juve has came in for the softs. Saffron coming in now. Adaltonians came in. The drivers, I feel this is the time to be making that switch to the soft compounds. The Alpha Tauri of Capitano has now inherited the lead with the Red Bull of Ray 46 behind him. The track definitely not wet enough to still be on those intermediate tires. And I knew we'd be facing a dry circuit very soon, and it's come a lot sooner than I initially thought it was. Saffron City of a drive-through penalty for speeding under VSC. So unfortunate for him. But now, this is an interesting battle. Oh, what's this? Benz Rice has gone off big time going through turn number 4. Unbelievable. I don't know what's happened to Benz Rice to warrant that spin. But he's completely done in the right side of his front wing. Man, I hope I have a good replay of that I'm going to throw in right now. I genuinely have no idea how that one's happened, though. Here comes Forza Juve along the side of Will Ends. Now, Forza's gone onto the soft compound tire. Do you figure he'll be able to make them last for 15 laps? It's going to be very close. Who's this that's gone off? That looks like Detail, who's gone off there in turns 8 and 9. But back to the battle for the potential lead at the moment. Forza right behind Ray 46 now, and Will Ant starting to fall off just a little bit. However, Will is on those medium tires. It's going to be very close. In comes Forza Juve. Forza Juve's pitting now. Why Forza Juve has just chosen to come into the pits is an absolute mystery to me, but he's on those soft tires that he's just boxed for. Unbelievable. So now it's Capitano coming out. Can Capitano potentially just keep second place? And look at all the drivers pitting now. I wonder how that's happened as well. But it would appear that the AlphaTauri team of Willands and Capitano now have first and second, with Adel Tonian in the Ferrari in third. Unreal stuff we're seeing here. Benz Rice, I can't imagine what's happened to Benz Rice to cause that spin that he had. Will ends well far out in first by a total of 12 seconds. Capitano in second, though hot on his heels is Adel Tonian, who's apparently just picked up another 3 seconds in time penalties. That puts him to 8. So as it stands at the moment, Chief Braids in a very, very good spot to take the podium.
I went way too deep there. Oh, come on, Nero. What the hell are you trying there?
And Saffron City picking up 3 seconds for multiple warnings. Oh, who's that that's gone off? That's the Renault of Benz Rice. And a virtual safety car on the track. Uncle Benz Rice's day has gone from bad to worse in a matter of 5 laps or less. After he had the battle with Will Ans for the better part of 10 laps. Somewhere around there at least. And then DNFing just now in turn 6. I cannot believe the race that we are having today. The drama that's unfolding. It's not like it's ridiculously good battling either. I mean, don't get me wrong, we are having some very good battles. But the absolute drama that's unfolding, you can't make this up. You couldn't have written a script fit for this. And Adel Tonian, now he's going to have to try to make his move around Capitano. DRS is now enabled. Adel Tonian definitely wants to be looking to get this move around Capitano, despite having the 8 seconds in penalties. Chief Braids there in third, so really it's a battle for position between Chief Braids and Pork Chops for this final podium position. It's going to be very close between these two. I will say, though, however, Adel Tonian seems to be doing a very good job of keeping Capitano on his heels at the moment. As we look a little bit further back, looks like Niru Nix trying to get in on this battle as well, trying to get past Pork Chops as they go into turn 10. Forza Juve right behind them, although these two drivers have penalties, where Pork Chops does not. Around the side of Pork Chops, DRS enabled this time by. Is Juve going to get the spot as well? And Juve getting the spot as well. Pork Chops losing 2 positions. And that is Niru Nix in the wall. What has happened to Niru Nix? Unbelievable. Both Renaults smacking the wall in spectacular fashion. That's TNE Highway. He had to try to avoid Niru Nix, who was slow on track. He was coming out of the corner. He was coming out of turn 14. Had Niru going slow on the inside of the corner, on the outside rather, after he had just gotten into the wall. And TNE Highway, to try to avoid him, has hit the wall himself. Unbelievable stuff here. Now here's Saffron City, trying to potentially make a move on Ray 46. It looks like Adel Tonian's taking the second spot from El Capitano, what seems to be through the DRS section. Side by side going into 2, it's going to be very close, and it looks like Saffron and Ray still getting into each other. Is that Ray or is that TNE? That's TNE. Apologies for that. Side by side still, somehow these drivers, they got into each other going into 2. I think they got into each other again just now. Somehow. No incident there. And it looks like Porkchops has been shuffled out of position just a little bit. He's back to 6th. Forza Juve ahead of him. He's got 3 seconds. Chief Braid's ahead of him. Capitano still trying to make the move on Adel Tonian to get that spot back. 0.5 of a second. He's got the DRS as well. It's going to be close. It looks like Capitano's on a great lap as well. Forza Juve did not get that braking zone correctly and almost gets into the back at Chief Braids, but does a good job to avoid it. I'm going to have to crack open another can of Arizona green tea after this. Good goodness me. I've gone through 3 cans of green tea just this race alone. There's so much going on, and speaking of so much going on, here's Forza Juve trying to get around Chief Braids, and I tell you what, it's definitely looking like Forza Juve's internet isn't the best either. Honestly, it's even from my perspective. I know I'm just spectating, but it doesn't look that good. Wow, out of breath completely. So Forza Juve is in 4th. At the moment, Capitano will pretty much have that second spot. That battle between Forza Juve and Chief Braids for the final podium spot is very much up for grabs. And it's now even more up for grabs as Chief Braids has just picked up 3 seconds. So now it is a complete and total battle for position. Meanwhile, however, don't look now, but Porkchops is still within striking distance on Chief Braids. It doesn't look like he's got a lot of pace enough to catch up to Juve as well. Although these drivers are right next to each other, Porkchops could very well get in on this battle as well. And what a result that would be for Porkchops if he was able to. Porkchop's currently the only driver from positions 4 through 8 to not have a penalty. What a drive this would be from Porkchops if he somehow etches out a podium here as we have 10 laps to go. Absolutely unbelievable scenes we are having here at the Sociologidome. Here comes Capitano trying to make the move on Adel Tonian. Now, Adel probably shouldn't defend this corner too much, although Capitano is not going to take it this time by. Oh, and Capitano has picked up 3 seconds. Wow. I'm not rightly sure how Capitano managed to pick up that penalty. Though this is absolute craziness. Positions 3 through 5 are just battles for positions at the moment. Never mind the fact that Porkchops wants in on this as well, and he has the potential, I think, to steal a podium out just from underneath all of these drivers. Absolute scenes. DRS for Capitano, trying to make the move still on Adel Tonian as they head down out of turn 11 and into 12. Capitano's going to have the inside, though it's going to be very close, a very tricky corner to overtake in. Capitano gets it done for now, manages to hold the corner very well. Here comes Adel Tonian to the right side still, and Adel Tonian's going to get it back at the moment, still side by side going into 15, still side by side through 16. And Adel Tonian getting the best for now. Unreal. Absolutely unreal. As we scroll a little bit further back, here's Ray 46 still within half a second of his Red Bull teammate of T&E Highway. I don't expect a big, battle for position here, as Ray 46 is going to have this spot anyways. T&E Highway's got 8 seconds of penalties, and T&E's doing his best to shake the slipstream. So some actual racing here from T&E Highway, who, is most likely going to lose the position, not just from the DN. Oh, he hasn't even replaced his front wing, has he? So T&E Highway still has that front wing. From that moment where Niru got into the wall in front of him, he still has yet to replace it. Well, I can't say I expected that. Up a little bit further, here's Forza Juve. It's a battle for the 3rd position. Humble Hippo picking up 3 seconds of time penalties. Meanwhile, Chief Braid's trying to fail in on this as well. Pork Chop's just a little bit far behind at the moment. It's going to be close. He's got about 2 seconds back on Forza Juve. I think at this moment in time, he will get the podium position, although he's going to have to keep on it. Capitano under pressure from Forza Juve as they head into turn 15. Juve is definitely going to want this position very, very soon, as this is a battle for position between these drivers. Chief Braid's also in on this as well. Forza Juve, did he just hit the wall? I'm not really sure. He didn't have the best exit to 16, I'll say that much. Still plenty of action left to go, but at the moment it appears that Will Ann's out to a commanding lead by 7 seconds, nearly 8 seconds over Adaltonian, who has 8 seconds anyways. T&E Highways picked up 3 seconds. That adds up to 11. Unfortunate for him. Still a battle. Pork Chops definitely needs to pick up the pace here if he wants the shot at the podium. He has the potential to do so. In fact, 2 of the drivers ahead of him, both Adaltonian and Forza Juve on the soft compound, it definitely has the ability to outlast the soft tires. It's going to be really, really close, though. And Pork Chops better not make a track limits mistake if he wants a shot at the podium. Adaltonian, I will say, is doing an excellent job not making any mistakes and keeping Capitano locked behind him. Forza Juve wants in on this as well. He has DRS as well as Capitano. Capitano looking to go onto the left side of Adaltonian, although Adaltonian closes off the line going into the corner, side by side now between these two going into 15. That could have potentially opened the door for Forza Juve as well. Into 15 they go. Capitano gets the spot. Not done yet. Forza Juve to the right side of Adaltonian, and it's still side by side as they now go into 17. And Adaltonian pitting. That was a little bit of a buzzkill, wasn't it? Unfortunate there. But now Capitano has the spot. Chief Braids in 4th. T&E Highway picking up 5 seconds for speeding into the pit lane. That puts him at a measly 16 seconds. And T&E Highway did retire in the pits. Okay, I will say that was very, very sudden of him. And I didn't think he was anywhere near the pit lane, but kudos to him for doing the right thing and retiring in the pit lane. So, wow, Forza Juve got really wide there, didn't it? Wow, that was wild. So, 5 DNFs for the Russian Grand Prix. And I still think there is some carnage left to come as Forza Juve. I don't think he got the best line going into turn 13, although he did a good job of keeping Chief Braids behind him. And damn, it looks like Pork Chops starting to kind of fall out of reach of that spot just barely. And as I say that, doesn't really get a good line through 15 either. And now that gap extending even further. Very unfortunate for Pork Chops, who definitely had the ability to get that position. Only got one driver on the softs ahead of him, and it's Forza Juve. Wow. I will say, though, still a battle for position between these drivers for second, third, and fourth, although it looks like Chief Braid's starting to fall back just a little bit. Forza Juve is absolutely cranking the pace on them soft tires, although I will say, surely the tire life can't be getting that much better. It is 8 laps. He'll have to get to 14? Make it to the end of the race? I'm too focused on the race to do any math. Sorry, but anyways, Forza Juve is going to have a lot of time left on those soft tires. It's going to be interesting to see. However, I will say, what a day it has been for that AlphaTauri team. First and second at the moment. St. Altonian picks up 3 seconds for multiple warnings. Forza Juve still in hot pursuit of Capitano, and wow, it looks like Forza Juve's internet all over the place from what it looks like, I will say. Into 17 and 18, I mean, can Forza Juve really... Do you think that he potentially is just waiting for Capitano to make some sort of a mistake, or are the soft tires starting to degrade? Degrade? I don't know the word. Are the soft tires starting to fall off? Because he's kind of sitting still there at about 0.5 of a second, although not an insurmountable feat, as here comes Humble Hippo. Could he potentially make a move on Detail going into 2? And yeah, there goes 8 Altonian setting a fastest lap. Nicely done for him. Well, that puts 8 Altonian back down to 6 seconds. Forza Juve still trying to put the work on Capitano. He doesn't have a lot of time to do that. So Forza Juve, it's really just waiting for Capitano to make some mistakes here. It kind of looked like he did that time, although not a mistake enough to make an overtake. We'll have to see what kind of pace Forza Juve is going to be putting up here towards the end of this race, as it definitely looks like he's starting to fall back. I don't want to say out of Capitano's reach, as nothing is impossible here in Division 2. However, I will say it is starting to look a little bleak for Forza Juve. Sorry about that. A little further back, it looks like Detail. Can he be making a move on Ray shortly? He's within 0.5 of a second. We'll go back up to Forza Juve in a minute, although it looks like with that lock up, Ray 46 might be under a lot more pressure than he may actually realize here, as Detail is right behind him, and it looks like Detail is starting to close fast. Closely contested here. Detail could potentially have this spot. Through the DRS zone they go. A little bit further up, though. Forza Juve still hot on the heels of Capitano, trying his best to wear him down and get any remaining juice out of those soft tires left. It's going to be a close one, I will say. He's going to have the DRS. We get a yellow flag in Sector 1 and 2. That's Domingos. How bad has he gone around? Well, he's losing parts of his front wing now, that's for sure. what exactly is going on with Domingos here? Well, I couldn't tell you, unfortunately. But he's lost a big part of his front wing, and that's definitely not what he needed. Never mind the McLaren team in general, as they are definitely in the definitely need some good results, as this season, the start of the season for the McLaren team has been absolutely abysmal, and it's not been a lack of talent or anything like that. It's just simply been just absolutely awful luck, and I was listening to Domingos earlier in the week talking about potentially taking a break from racing entirely or just moving down to Div 3, which I hope is not true, because he absolutely deserves to be in Division 2. Although with the luck that he's run into, I don't blame him for having that mindset right now. However, a little bit further back on this battle between Ray 46 and Detail, looks like Humble Hippo wants in on this fight as well, as they go through the DRS straight. Now, Humble Hippo had the incident with his teammate of Murfancelli in the start, whether it was tight racing or just a mistake on Murfancelli's part. Whatever it may be, this has not been the race that Humble Hippo necessarily wanted, as now can he make the move on Detail? Going into 15th, it's going to be a close one, and yeah, Humble Hippo's going to get that overtake nicely done at the moment, although it looks like Detail 2 is inside. Had to just back out of that, really. Absolutely great job there from Humble Hippo to make up that spot. Humble Hippo, it's not been the worst day for him. I mean, he's lost 2 spots since his initial start, but it could be worse. Still, could be worse. Man, and you have to wonder if Pork Chops, what's going through his head right now. He was definitely in contention to have that podium spot, and I don't know if it was just he couldn't get the pace out of the car. Maybe the setup was different. I don't understand. I will say, though, P5, still a good result for Pork Chops, and one that I'm sure he'll be proud of, as he's made up 8 spots since the initial start. Absolutely great drive from him, no doubt about that. Although, maybe some regrets to be had after. But Will Ans has had an absolutely dominant day. Started the race on Row 2 in P4. Had, not exactly a mountain to climb on the start, but definitely had some solid talent in front of him as well, that being Benz Rice. Heitai was up there. Forza Juve, I believe, was up there as well with him. Unfortunately, had that incident with Heitai on the initial start. And honestly, we'll have to see if some sort of steward penalty comes out of that. I'm not entirely sure if there was fault to be had anywhere on that. We'll have to ask him that question once he gets in for the interview, unless something absolutely catastrophic happens and somehow he doesn't join us at the end of the race. Detail still trying his best to get to the back of Humble Hippo, who both Humble Hippo and Detail having the DRS, trying to do their best to get to the end of Ray 46, who Ray 46, I will say, has had himself a day, making up 11 spots on the initial start. Big lockup there from Ray 46 going into turn 2. There goes Domingos picking up 3 seconds for multiple warnings. Ray 46 under a lot of pressure now. Humble Hippo's doing a great job. I will say Humble Hippo, again, despite losing the 2 spots on the start, there goes Ray 46 a little bit wide out of the corner. Man, it looks like Humble Hippo's just driving that car to perfection right now. I think we could see an overtake here very shortly between these two. Never mind, Detail still in hot pursuit as well. He's not that far behind at all. We have a yellow flag in Sector 2. That looks like, oh, don't tell me that's Domingos, and it is, who's going a little slower than he probably should be, although I'm not sure that he was the cause of that. Still a good battle happening here. We got Humble Hippo now under pressure from Chief Braids behind him, or that's Detail, rather. Where did they get Chief Braids from? As Will Ans has started his final lap of the Sochi Ultradome. It's been an absolutely brilliant day from him, and all he's got to do is just ride it home. But meanwhile, Ray 46 under pressure. trying to, scatter his use of the energy button, maybe break the slipstream here. He's going to be under a lot of pressure from Hubble Hippo now as they go into turn 2. It's going to be side by side, and Hubble Hippo finally getting the spot. However, going over the curbing, didn't pick up a time penalty. Although he's got 3 seconds, so he's going to be losing this progress, unfortunately. Yellow flag in Sector 1, that's Ray 46. Gone around in turn 4, very unfortunate for him. However, what has happened to Will Ans? He had such a big lead on El Capitano. It's now down to just about 2 seconds. We're not going to see a battle for the win here, are we? Surely not. I will say, though, I don't know what's happened there to Will Ans, but suddenly he's lost a huge chunk of time. Although it looks like this win is pretty much wrapped up here for Will Ans. An absolutely brilliant day for Will Ans and the AlphaTauri team in general. And it's Will Ans taking the victory in the Russian Grand Prix. An absolutely brilliant display from him. His teammate Capitano in second, Forza Juve taking third, the podium for the Mercedes team. Absolutely brilliant stuff there. Chief Braids there in fourth, the replacement for Monkey Mafia as well. Very, very good result from him. Pork Chops in fifth. Great day for him as well. A great day for the Williams team in general. Fourth and sixth. Absolutely brilliant stuff from them. Nicely done. Detail going to take seventh as it stands. Humble Hippo back there in eighth. Ray 46th in ninth. After that, Spool in 10th. Adaltonian 11th. Hightower probably going to take 12th. Nero 13th. And Domingos 14th. And then everyone else, unfortunately, an early end to the race. But an absolutely dominant display from Will Ans and the AlphaTauri team. Absolutely brilliant done. Brilliantly done. And so a very well-deserved victory there for Will Ans. And it appears that Ray 46 is not happy with Humble Hippo in the Discord chat. So Will Ans and the AlphaTauri team, an unbelievable day for them. Absolutely brilliant done from Will Ans. Capitano had a great race, making up 15 spots since the initial start. Forza Juve in third. And so our final results for the race. Apparently it started raining again. Will Ans finishing first, Capitano in second, Forza Juve in third, Chief Braids fourth, Pork Chops in fifth, great result from him, sixth is Saffron, seventh Detail, eighth Humble Hippo, ninth Ray 46, 10th Spool and Dub, 11th Adaltonian, 12th Hightower, 13th Nero Nix, 14th Domingos, 15th TNE Highway, 16th Uncle Ben's Rice, 17th JSD, 18th Hey Tight, and then rounding out the field in 19th is Murphin and hopefully we'll get to those interviews right now. Okay, so I am here with first and second, our two AlphaTauri podium finishes, which is definitely a result that I'm sure you guys are very happy with, as well as only being 22 points off of the Constructors' Championship lead prior to going into this race. This result is definitely going to help that. Surely some moves to be made, for sure. I'm going to start off with Capitano. So, what a race it was from you starting in what was it, P17, and then making up 15 spots on the beginning of the race. Absolutely unbelievable drive. Take me through it.
Well, it all happens with the qualify when I hit the wall. So that was my qualify done, and I'm luckily stay out of trouble during the wet conditions. Stay out of trouble just cruising a little bit past the following cars, and when it turns into dry, Will Ans got the first position to make a pit stop, so I have to do another lap. And I was luckily that some guys behind us as a drive-through penalty.
So very crazy race overall. Lots happening in front of you, around you, everywhere. I'm sure it must have been pretty tough to keep out of all the mess happening around the circuit. But I tell you what, no shortage of that next week either as we go to Spa. How do you feel for that race going into it? You guys are on a hot run of form recently. Do you think you can carry the momentum going into Belgium?
Well, I hope we get this momentum to the next race, but yeah, I'm not usually to finish up to the podium. This is my first podium, so yeah, it tastes like more.
Well, an absolutely brilliant drive from you. Absolutely congratulations on the podium finish. And then Will Ann's the winner. An absolutely amazing race from you. I do want to jump to the start, though, because there was potentially contact there with Haytite. At least it was on my screen. You want to take me through with the start of the race?
Yeah, I think that was just an unfortunate case of the circuit design, really. I got a really good jump off the line, which meant that before the kink in the straight, it was 3 wide, and I think it was Forza Juve on the outside. Maybe he didn't realise it was 3 wide, but because both myself and Haytite were on the inside, and yeah, he was Forza had a lot of space to his left that he didn't use. He probably didn't realise that he had to, really, but yeah, I was as far left as I could go, trying to leave as much space to Haytite on the inside, but I don't think I could. It wasn't physically possible for me to leave him anymore, unfortunately, and I think he had a little bit of contact with the wall.
Yeah, and it was an unfortunate race for a lot of people on the start. Haytite being one of them. We saw the Alfa Romeos get into each other 2 laps in, and I think one of them ended up DNFing from that incident. But I tell you what, despite the chaos, you've come out on top. Had a great battle there with Ben's Rice for the longest time, and then I kind of wonder what's happened to Ben Rice for that to happen. So next week as well, going into Spa. It's going to be a good race because now that we have an idea of, we have you still in that spot, in that battle with Uncle Ben's Rice for the Drivers' Championship, and now we have potentially a couple other drivers trying to fill in that 3rd spot. That's kind of been the trend is that we've had 3 drivers kind of battling for whether it be Capitano or it be Forza Juve or maybe someone else going into it. How do you figure your chances are at Spa going into next week?
Well, I mean, I think looking at it, the pressure is probably on Uncle Ben. I think this has given me a bit of a breathing room, to be honest. Capitano's a brilliant driver. He's been quite unlucky this season, so he's definitely there and thereabouts. But I think me and Ben's Rice probably just have the edge on the rest of the field in terms of pace. So I've just been focusing on keeping it consistently on the podium, and that's been working out. But yeah, that mistake from Ben having to retire this race means that I've got he's got a lot of pressure on himself next weekend, let's just say.
Absolutely, and I mean, sometimes that's just how the cards fall into place, unfortunately. I do want to ask you this, though, because I was kind of speculating at the beginning of the race. Say you were to receive an offer to go up into Div 1, would you take it, or do you think you'd ride out the rest of the season here in Div 2?
I'd want to ride out the season in Div 2, I think. Yeah,
well,
I like to finish what I start, so.
Yeah, that's fair. I can't argue with that. We saw Sadistic King do that last season, and it'd definitely be an absolute pleasure having you for the rest of the season. Thank you guys both for joining me, and for all of us here at the Midwest F1 League, I'm Hotspot, and we'll see you next week at the Circuit Spa-Francorchamps for week, what is it, 6? Yeah, week 6 of Division 2 here at the Midwest F1 League. So long, everyone.